Yeah. 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 So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit of accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifting. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everybody. It is Pam Esquire, also known as Your Law Intellect. Welcome if you are new here. Welcome back if you have been here before, have been rocking with me for a while. If you can be so kind, if you like the content, then please subscribe to the channel. If you like this video, I'm going to need you to hit the like so that other people can get their notifications because it throws your girl in the algorithm so people will know that we are live. We over here are the social media jurors. I am the foreman. Therefore, what we do is we talk about cases from the neighborhood to Hollywood and we discuss them. We try to be unbiased, as unbiased as we can. Sometimes it's hard for some of these intellects, though. But we try our best to be unbiased, and I try to be the leader in that so that we can weigh cases from both sides. Sometimes there are people that we just don't really like. And so I have to urge and encourage everyone to put their personal biases behind and to look at the facts and look at the evidence. And we are not going to do anything different for this case, which we will be talking about Sean Puffy Diddy Love Combs. Now, we started talking about Sean Combs a few months ago, maybe a week before Thanksgiving, I believe, or the week of Thanksgiving, of which Cassie, who is an R&B artist and was his girlfriend for a while, she came with a bombshell lawsuit. She had all these allegations up in there, and it started a big domino effect as it pertained to Diddy. And this was all because some law in New York, they allowed people that were the victims or alleged victims of SA, they were able to file under this statute within a year. Now, what we did learn is that apparently there were conversations prior to the filing of Cassie's lawsuit, and maybe there were some issues over money or whatever it was behind the scenes. But Cassie called his bluff, and it's been downhill ever since. Just falling. And so this week, as you guys know, and many of you guys asked me to talk about this because I wasn't sure if I wanted to, because you guys know we try to do documents, we try to go over indictments, we try to go over things where we have tangible evidence and information. It's all alleged, but at least it's something to corroborate. And that's what I think is very important and what is lacking on this here internet. So we watch Diddy's house get raided. That warrant was out of the Southern District of New York. However, it was executed by Homeland Security, and that was in his Miami home and his LA home. Well, since that time, we've heard so much gibbering and jabbering about what was going on, what wasn't going on, what is happening. Everybody was doing breaking news. It was all over the internet. They were like, Diddy's gone. Diddy done fled the country. His house is being raided. They left his kids there. What type of father is this? He sucks. Breaking news. He left the kids while they came and they're in handcuffs. And TMZ had all of the photos where they're showing the kids with the handcuffs, or two of the kids with the handcuffs. I mean, it was so dramatic. I couldn't go past not one video where they weren't talking about Diddy done fled the scene. Then Within probably the same hour, TMZ was like, Diddy spotted. This is him pacing at the airport. I'm like, Diddy ain't even went nowhere. Like, what are y'all talking about? Like, look at Diddy. He hadn't even went anywhere. So then this is how I knew that this was going to be a situation of which everyone was going to be grasping to be the first and to report things. But we all know over here that when the feds execute, when a search warrant is executed, they're getting a plethora of things. They're gonna get devices. They're going to get electronics. They're going to go get cell phones, perhaps. They gotta look at this stuff, right? But it was so sensationalized that everyone had to come up with something new. Everybody had to be the first with some information. So then, because of that, what I noticed, because the feds they're not gonna come to Pam and say, girl, we about to indict him tomorrow. That's not how this works. They're not about to call one of these other attorneys on here and say, ooh, we about TMZ. I just wanted to give you the heads up, but we about to arrest Diddy. That's not how that goes, right? But apparently, because this was the big thing, everybody wanted to find something to talk about. So what did everyone do? Went to the complaint of Rodney Jones, who had filed a lawsuit against Diddy. Now, who is Rodney Jones? Mr. Jones is someone who is a producer. I guess he has they did a long bio of him in a complaint. He filed this complaint against a plethora of people. Okay, this is the complaint. He filed it against. Let's go to the top. Let's go to the top. He got pictures. I mean, this read like a book. So he filed it against Sean Combs, Justin Combs, which is his son, Cuba Gooding Jr., who is an actor, Lucian Charles Grange, who is of UMG, Christina Karam, I think it was his manager, Love Records, which belongs to Diddy, Motown Records, Universal Music Group, Combs Global Enterprises, John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10, because we don't know who they are, and ABC Corporation 1 through 10. So they sued a whole lot of people. And there were a lot of allegations. And you guys have heard most of the allegations that were in here related to Mr. Jones is alleging that while he was working on the Love Jones album, he endured SA, he endured being assaulted. He mentioned a whole lot of people in this lawsuit. Aside from this list of all these people he sued, everybody was catching strays. Everybody. You got Stevie J caught a stray, Young Miami caught a stray. I mean, he was just throwing whatever names, that come to mind. So Diddy is being alleged of somehow having some RICO, some enterprise, and all of these people are a part of this enterprise for trafficking and drugs and just anything you can imagine. This thorough complaint, which reads like a book or a movie, it has pictures, like I said, it has all of this. So this is the amended complaint. So then we started hearing different things within this complaint, because now the feds ain't about to tell us what's going on, right? So now we're looking into this complaint and we start seeing different headlines related to things that's in this complaint. So now everybody's like, this is the bombshells in here in this complaint, right? So one of the headlines talked about TD Jakes, right? They talked about TD Jakes. They said why a popular Dallas pastor's name appears in a lawsuit against Diddy. Okay, so that became a headline. So I was like, let me go look in this good complaint, because that's interesting, because Diddy, TD Jakes became a part of all of this Diddy stuff, because pictures came out when after this lawsuit was filed and these other women filed lawsuits against Diddy. Just to refresh your recollection, there was a video that went viral of some guy obtained an email, and the email alleged TD Jakes was a power bottom, and he was at all the Diddy freak off parties, because in Cassie's lawsuit, she mentioned these freak off parties. So this is how Jakes got involved. So Jakes got dragged for a good 30 to 45 days. Just got dragged nonstop. A video came where I guess he was doing a sermon and he talking about being swallowed. So everybody was going around talking about swallowed. I mean, he got dragged for a little minute. So, of course, when somebody sees Jakes in the headlines and it's connected to Diddy, we all looking like, wait a minute, what are they talking about? And that's why I did my post on my wall where I talked about, I'm like, is this what they're talking about? And it wasn't to say, like, a lot of people got where I was coming from about how they clickbait certain things, because what we have a tendency to do is when we don't like people, or we're not on their side, or they not our people, or we believe whatever people say about them, we just want to believe everything negative about them. We just want to believe that it's bad. That's what we want to believe. That was my point. I wasn't talking about people was in there like, yeah, that's all it says, but he stole a baby. That's all it said, but he did this. He was grooming people. But that wasn't what my post was about. Everybody who said that proved my point about how, because you have been, you've basically adopted this whatever you want to believe. So now whenever you see something, and this is how clickbait works, and whenever you see something, this is what you want to believe. But this is all that was even in this complaint related to Diddy. I mean, related to Jakes. And I put it up there, and I put the screenshot on the wall because I wanted you guys to see how you have to be careful and why I really wasn't talking about this, because I know that it's not going to be that much information. The feds can raid your house in January and you don't get indicted till December, if you're going to be indicted. And that's assuming that it's whatever they're looking for on their devices or whatnot. So basically, all that was said about Jakes was, let me see. When it came to Jakes, all they were saying was essentially that he wanted to use Jakes to, which is believable, because if you're in the gospel arena, if you will, we know that Jakes has been considered a fixer-upper. When like John Gray, and we seen all of the, he was laying his hands on him and all of that, when he was going through his thing, that's kind of like what he does. So what he said was, Mr. Combs detailed how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften the impact on his public image of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. That was it. That was it. You guys see over there in F? That's supposed to be what it was. So that's why I said, okay, this is about to be all over the place. I can totally see where this is going. Meanwhile, while folks was like trying to figure out how we can keep this Diddy thing going, y'all know my presentation is just a little animated. While folks was worrying about how this was going, people forgot that there was like I said, there's a plethora of people in this lawsuit. I just read the names, okay? So this person right here, Lucian Charles Grange, he was in the lawsuit. He is the CEO of Universal Music Group. Universal Music Group was also a part of this. Motown Records was a part of this. This young lady, Egypt, she's not in it no more. She actually was dismissed for providing an affidavit, which we'll talk about that in a minute, because people sensationalize that as well, as far as her dismissal, which was totally inaccurate from a legal standpoint. It didn't even make any sense. But Lucian, Universal, and the young lady Egypt, she's out now, but she was her, and Motown. They were all represented by the same people. Welcome, C.I. Hawk, to the Intellects. Welcome, welcome. Well, you guys make C.I. Hawk feel welcome over here. So, meanwhile, this is what, like, while we all getting all into this complaint, like, oh my gosh, and we flipping the page. What's next? Ooh, Young Miami did what? Her cousin mess with this guy? We seen Cuba Gooding Jr. He was like, child, he been accused so much, and he done pled guilty to something. We just skipped all over him. We wasn't even thinking about him. Then Stevie J, that was another thing. Stevie J was in there, and there was supposed to be some alleged tape with Stevie J, and some other porn star comes out and say, don't be giving Stevie J my credit. That's me up in them videos. His name is Knockout. He was like, that's me. That ain't no Stevie J. So it's just to let you know. So this complaint, it was people that were coming out trying to debunk a lot of stuff in this complaint, right? When it first came out, they were like, it's not, a lot of the stuff is inaccurate and it is not true. Well, UMG, they said the same thing. They said a lot of this stuff in here is not true. And so because of that, the attorneys for UMG, Motown, and for Sir Lucian Grange of UMG, they sent Mr. Jones a letter. And this was on March 4th. And this is what we do before we hit you with the whammy about your alleged frivolous lawsuit or whatever we think it is. We're going to send you a courtesy letter. You know, we fair over here in this game. We don't want to see you guys, you know, look bad in front of your clients. So this is what his attorneys did sent to Mr. Jones' attorney. Said this firm represents Universal Music Group, Motown Records, which has been improperly identified in the complaint you have filed in the above reference action. Sir Lucian Grange and Ethiopia have Miriam. I don't know how to say her name. And they have collectively our clients. This letter is being sent to you in advance of our making a Rule 11 motion in accordance with the requirements, Rule 11C of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedures. Such motion, if we are required to make it, will provide you with the required 21-day notice before we seek the imposition of monetary sanctions against you and your client for having filed a complaint and now an amended complaint, both of which are in patent and egregious violations of the requirements of Rule 11A and 11B. You can avoid a Rule 11 motion only by withdrawing the complaint or immediately amending it to remove all allegations and claims against our clients. If you fail to do so, or fail to confirm to us that you will do so in writing, no later than 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, from the day of this letter, we will proceed against you and your client without any further notice. They said this is your only warning. Rule 11B explicitly requires that an attorney filing a complaint thereby certifies to the court that he has made a reasonable inquiry and that the complaint is not presented for any improper purpose, such as to harass or increase costs. The attorney further certifies to the court that the claims are warranted by the law. And perhaps most importantly here, that the factual contentions have evidentiary support. Such specific identification would be allegations framed as being on information and belief. In this complaint, you have certified to the court accusations and conclusions about our clients that you have presented as facts that are completely and demonstrably fabricated and untrue. Had you conducted anything remotely resembling the reasonable inquiry required by Rule 11B, you would not have filed a complaint filled with such conclusory and materially false accusations against our clients. Indeed, as I will discuss below, not only did you file a complaint in violation of Rule 11, And then you double down on that impropriety by filing your amended complaint. So basically, after that long first complaint that was 70 pages, and people were like, oh my God, he filed an amended complaint. This is why he filed an amended complaint, because he got this letter. You better come with some facts and get your stuff right, or I'm going to ask the court to sanction you and your client. Because when you put certain information in pleadings, you can't untake that out. That's public record. So damn. Had you conducted anything remotely resembling the reasonable inquiry required, you could not have filed a complaint filled with such conclusory and materially false accusations against our clients. Indeed, as I will discuss below, not only did you file a complaint in violation of Rule 11, the complaint also violates Rule 8's requirement of a short and plain statement. By way of example, of the complaint goes on for 6 pages of single space type, not a single page of which contains a single fact of which you or your client have any knowledge and which are in any event patently false. Your complaint also violates Rule 12F, containing multiple paragraphs of knowingly false, conclusory assertions regarding our clients, including accusing our clients of criminal activity without the slightest basis whatsoever. And if not knowingly false, you made the accusations without the slightest inquiry into the actual facts. These accusations are redundant, irrelevant, immaterial, impertinent, scandalous, and prejudicial. In addition, the completely unnecessary and improper inclusion of personal residential addresses in the complaint confirmed that you and your client have acted with malice and furtherance of an extraordinary attempt to extract an undeserved payment. So he put actual addresses, I guess, of them in the complaint. I thought they were business addresses. Sheesh. Your complaint also fails to state a claim against our clients. The RICO allegations are wholly deficient, substituting non-specific group allegations and conclusions for a single factual allegation connecting our clients to your imagined over 20-year alleged criminal enterprise in which our clients have never had any involvement whatsoever. In essence, you attempted to connect our clients to your fabricated RICO conspiracy solely due to their alleged failure to exercise supervision over individuals that our clients have no duty to supervise, individuals that were also not employed by our clients, manufacturing, repeating multiple times a baseless allegation that our clients occupied the position of respondent superior. Presumably, you actually mean respondent superior. Like, that's what I think you meant, but you don't even know how to say it right. That's what this attorney said. Similarly, your aiding and abetting alleged criminal trafficking allegation against our clients are premised on the same non-existent duty and on the alleged provision of cash to Mr. Combs and the alleged failure to properly file tax reports relating to the supposed, quote, cash payments. To begin with, your client has no standing to pursue a civil claim under 28 U.S.C. That's a criminal statute. That is true. Nor does your client have standing to pursue a civil claim under 18 U.S.C. But this just scratches the surface of your complete failure to conduct anything remotely resembling a reasonable inquiry into the facts before filing a pleading filled with offensively false accusations. To begin with, not only is there no conceivable basis on which you or your client could possibly have any knowledge of the existence of any, quote, cash payments or our client's tax filings. In fact, there were no, quote, cash payments and there was no failure of properly filed tax reports. These accusations are so materially and palpably false that there is not even the remotest possibility that you comply with your obligation as an attorney to conduct a reasonable inquiry into the facts. Instead, either you fabricated the entire story yourself or your client did. Either way, not only is there no viable claim pleaded, and not only does the complaint violate Rule 8, Rule 12b-6, and 12L, it undisputably violates Rule 11. In fact, the complaint is virtually bereft of any actual facts regarding our client as distinguished from a patently improper group pleading and sweeping conclusions that have no basis in fact. Instead of documenting each and every falsehood that is contained in the complaint, which we will do should we have to proceed by motion, which will end up being entirely at your expense. I will merely enumerate a few examples. In paragraph 3, in a group pleading, you claim defendants engaged in torts in New York. Our client did nothing in New York or anywhere else. In paragraph 14, you claim Motown founded Love Records. There is no basis for such a false statement, and perhaps your equally baseless respondent superior assertion derives from this non-existent fact. Indeed, Motown did not even distribute the album on which your client claims to have worked, a fact that would have required very little effort on your part to find out, but which was apparently beyond your ability to perform. In paragraph 51 to 53, you claim UMG and Motown that UMG and Motown has some quote duty with respect to the security that was allegedly breached. Not only did UMG and Motown not provide any such security, UMG and Motown had no such duty. Again, this falsehood seems to derive from your fabricated assertion that Motown had or has some alleged ownership interest in Love Records. In paragraph 162 to 167 and 171 to 176, as well as elsewhere throughout the complaint, in identical words, you claim that Sir Lucian Grange and Miss Haber Merriam visited Combs' homes in Los Angeles and Miami in the evenings, and both would, quote, disappear for hours in Mr. Combs' bedroom, end quote. Aside from the absurd oddity of the identical alleged behavior by two individuals separately on apparently separate occasions, the entire story about their attendance at any events at Mr. Combs' homes or any listening parties is completely fabricated. Sir Lucian Grange has never been to Mr. Combs' house in LA or Miami and never attended or sponsored any listening parties at any of Mr. Combs' homes and was not present at any writers' camp. Thus, everything alleged about both Sir Lucian Grange's supposed knowledge of illicit and illegal activities allegedly engaged in by Mr. Combs and others is categorically false. I would also note that your footnote 20 about TikTok has absolutely nothing to do with anything in this complaint. It's completely inappropriate and gratuitous and can only have been asserted for an improper purpose. With respect to Miss Haber Merriam, she ceased working at Motown in the fall of 2022, just after, according to your complaint, Mr. Jones claims he first became associated with Mr. Combs with respect to what became the Love Record album. As such, the complaint allegations regarding Miss Haber Merriam's alleged involvement in this matter are demonstrably false. In paragraph 199 to 246, in addition to being a group pleading and not alleging a single fact addressed to our client, other than repeating the patently false allegations regarding the non-existent ownership and respondent superior. They keep quoting that because that's not how you spell it's superior. It's spelled totally different. So alleged relationship of our clients to Mr. Combs and his entities. The allegations present no facts against anyone, but instead largely mouth the words of the statute and do not remotely satisfy the pleading requirements for a RICO claim. Nor could you ever satisfy them as to our clients. As stated above with respect to the alleged eighth claim, the complaint presumes our clients employed or otherwise has some alleged supervisory obligations with respect to Mr. Combs, which is utterly false, and the Motown-owned Love Records, which is also untrue, and that our clients consequently have some duty to supervise and provide security. There's no such duty, and our clients undertook no such obligation. And with respect to the SEX trafficking claims asserted against our clients, including your obstruction claim, beyond the completely false accusations of funneling, quote, cash to Mr. Combs and the presumption that our clients have some respondent superior role with respect to Mr. Combs and his companies or colleagues, there is not a single fact pleaded, just prolix conclusions that are not only false, but as to which neither you nor your clients have any knowledge sufficient to have made such accusations. And as stated above, the promise of all of these palpably false allegations that Sir Lucian Grange had some close and continuing personal relation with Mr. Combs and spent hours with him at his home while all manner of allegedly improper activities were going on is completely false. Sir Lucian Grange had no such relationship nor any knowledge of any of the activities alleged in the complaint, And as discussed above, Miss I know I'm butchering her name, Miss H, ceased being unemployed by Motown shortly after your client allegedly started working with Mr. Combs and had no involvement or knowledge of the activities alleged in the complaint. And I think it was like in the complaint, they do allege that this lady, Egypt 8, she was supposed to have been at one of the parties or something, but she wasn't even working there no more, is what he's saying. UMG said, y'all ain't got to be. This attorney said, y'all not about to be grouping my clients with Diddy. As I stated above, while I have only provided a few examples of the materially false accusations that permeate the complaint, these allegations form the heart of your baseless accusations against our clients. And it is not merely that the entirety of the complaint as it pertains to our client is scandalously false, accusing our clients of engaging in criminal activity when the accusations have not the slightest factual basis. It is that you indisputably did not conduct the slightest inquiry into the facts, instead finding it expedient to spew these unadulterated mass of baseless accusations as to which you were utterly indifferent to the truth is a publicly filed complaint. The sheer recklessness of your complaint goes beyond any complaint I have seen in nearly 50 years of litigating in the federal and state courts in New York. When they started talking about how long they've been practicing, he was pissed when he wrote this. He said 50 years. He probably like 70 something years old. And he said out of 50 years, he has never seen this. He said that's no compliment. I intend to examine whether, in addition to the other offenses you have committed, you are also guilty of ethical violations in the filing of this complaint, which I believe you most certainly are. So he said, I'm about to see if I can go to the bar. This is how bad I think this is. In fact, not only were you apparently willing to file a complaint in complete violation of Rule 11, Rule 8, Rule 12B6, and Rule 12F, we understand as well that you personally provided advance copies of this complaint to the press. Ooh. In doing so, under New York law and potentially California law, you have forfeited whatever benefits of the litigation privilege that might arguably attend to the filing of a knowingly false pleading and have subjected yourself and your client to well-founded defamation claims involving not only libel per se, because you falsely accuse our client of participating in a crime and aiding and abetting a crime, but it is clear that you did so with actual malice. Depending on how swiftly you withdraw or amend this complaint to delete all references to our client, we will evaluate when and where they will proceed against you and your client, as well as evaluating proceedings under 28 U.S.C. Section 1927 against you. Whoa, Donald Zakarian, whoa. You said this is the most fancy cousin. Right. I said, dang, I might have to put this in my archives. There's a few attorneys I want to talk like this too. I feel you. I feel you, Donald. Brother counsel was mad. So he's saying, whatever y'all got going on with Diddy, how do you just lump my clients in there and you don't really have any basis, is what he's alleging for this. So I ain't never seen a cussing out like that in a pleading. And he said, I'm calling the bar. I'm seeing if it's a defamation lawsuit. And I know you slipped it to the press. And because you slipped it to the press, therefore, that was something you gave to them before you filed it. And now I'm going to say you told them this information before it was filed, and I might pursue a defamation lawsuit. But that depends on you, Mr. Blackman, whatever your name is. That depends on you. It depends on how swiftly you take my client's name off. So what he did was he actually removed Ethiopia H off of the lawsuit. Now, that was another thing that was going around. There were videos alleging that she was taken off because she was dismissed with prejudice because she's about to testify against Diddy. It has nothing to do. This is a civil case and this is a criminal case. You see how everybody is kind of lumping it together as if everything in the civil complaint that is allegations at this point is fact. And they're morphing it to the criminal case because it makes it sound more salacious and gives you more content. And I'm like, that's why I was just sitting back seeing what people were doing and what they were saying. So what she did was Egypt, she did an affidavit. She did a basic, this is how bad this is, how people are just making up stuff in order to have something to talk about. She did, let me pull up this complaint. She did an affidavit of which, upon her dismissal with prejudice, so they can't bring it back on her. This is the amended complaint. So after that swift lashing, this amended complaint came out. That was earlier this week, and it added about 20 more pages. And that's when we saw a lot more stuff about Young Miami and all of that. But he didn't take UMG off Motown. He didn't take any of them up off of there. So apparently he was like, I'm gonna call your bluff. I don't know. But this is the declaration from Ethiopia. When you do a declaration, you always say, I have personal knowledge of the facts. And you say that if I were to call to testify, this is what I would testify to. You guys have seen affidavits. You guys have seen declarations. This is all she said in this declaration. And everybody was going around, she gonna testify against Diddy. No, this is how you do declarations. And all she said in here, if you listen to it or read it, rather, she basically says when she was employed, her history of employment at UMG, you can see the titles, when she worked on Love Records, and when she left. That is it. And if she's called to testify, she has personal knowledge and she will testify to those facts. Now, I think what UMG, what Mr. Jones' attorney wanted this declaration for is to loop in UMG to say that they're connected with Love Records so they can keep them in the complaint. And she somewhat did that, I guess, in so many ways, I guess. So she says, in or around February 2014, I was promoted to president of urban music, co-head of creatives at UMPG. In or around February 2014, I was also given the title of president of Motown Records and executive vice president of Capitol Music Group. In those roles, I reported directly to Steve Barnett. In or around March 2021, I became the chairwoman and CEO of Motown Records. At that time, Motown Records became a standalone label within UMG Records. In that role, I reported directly to Lucian Grange. I left Motown Records and the entire UMG organization in November 2022. So then she goes on to Love Records and she's saying how Love Records got affiliated. In or around May 2022, Motown Records entered into an agreement with Love Records, Inc., whereby Motown Records obtained the right to distribute one album being produced by Love Records entitled The Love Album. UMG was aware of and authorized Motown Records to enter into a licensing agreement with Love Records. So she's saying there was a license agreement between UMG and Motown with Love Records. So that was what that's what Jones' attorney was trying to get, so they can try to loop them in. This is the affidavit that everybody's saying she gonna testify against Diddy. Said you want to read it again. Manufactured and baseless. That's what they said. So then Mr. Jones' attorney decided to use this affidavit to try to say, well, I got proof that UMG is a part of it and Motown is a part of it. So he amended the complaint. And that's what we've been seeing all week was the amendment. But this is why he amended it, because under the Rule 11, you get 21 days to try to amend the complaint. To amend the complaint, if you're being accused of it being frivolous, he took some things out, and I guess he must have changed some theories around, because UMG's attorney, all them, they still, Motown's attorney, they still were going off after this dismissal, after they did a motion to dismiss. So after this, there still was a motion to dismiss. After the amended complaint, that wasn't good enough because their names were still on it. He said you can either withdraw this whole complaint or you can take my client's name off of it. Jones amended the complaint, but he kept their names off of it except for Ethiopia. I probably didn't call her Egypt, Ethiopia, Lord, Miss H. Because, you know. So they that's all they did, right? Was they amended it and they still put it, you know, had them on there. And you know, Donald wasn't playing that. He was like, no, I told y'all take my client's name off of it, or you're gonna face a dismissal. And that's what he did. On yesterday, Donald Zakarian, brother counsel, did his memo and he said he wants this case dismissed. And if he was just as scathing as he was in the letter when he did this dismissal. This is the table of authorities. You guys have seen it before, of which you have to list all of your case law and what page they are on, if you guys are wondering, and the statutes and the rules that you use and reference and what page you can find them all on. And then he starts out, defendant Sir Lucian Grange, Motown Records, and UMG, because now we have Miss H has been already dismissed with prejudice because it wasn't nothing he can say. She wasn't even working there at the time the dude was talking about it. So she wasn't even there. So if you saw somebody, it wasn't her. So wasn't nothing that could be done. So she got dismissed. As Universal Music Group, which is not a judicial entity, submit this memo of law in support of their motion pursuant to Federal Rules of Civil Procedures, Rule 8, 12B2, and 12B6 to dismiss the first amended complaint and pursuant to Rule 12F to strike impertinent and scandalous allegations. So they want some of this stricken off of the record. The preliminary statement is plaintiff and his counsel have made criminal accusations against Sean Combs and his associates. Whatever the truth or falsity of those accusations, without the slightest factual or legal basis and in reckless disregard for Rule 11, they have also improperly accused Grange, UMG Records, and Motown, collectively the UMG defendants, of assisting, participating in, or helping to conceal the alleged conduct of Combs and his associates. But not only do both the FAC is the first amended complaint, so I'm just going to say FAC. FAC and unauthorized, and then he did a second amended complaint, I guess. SAC, as to the UMG defendants, violates Rule 8 and 12F. The theories underlining the FAC and SAC for the same claims are completely different and irreconcilable. As set forth in Zakarian Declaration, while the FAC alleges Motown Records was a, quote, parent company of Love Records, that Grange allegedly knew of the alleged Combs sex trafficking because he supposedly saw it ongoing at Combs' home, and the UMG defendants allegedly delivered bags of, quote, cash to Combs, the unauthorized SAC jettisons every one of those allegations. Basically, it throws out all of those allegations. Instead, now Love Records and Motown UMG recordings are supposedly in a general partnership. So now he's changed the relationship from a parent company to a general partnership. And this has changed from the amendments that a lot of people ain't reading all 80 and 90 of them pages. So it's probably those slight changes we probably would have overlooked if he didn't say that. Grange never was at Combs' home and no cash was ever delivered. Instead, the UMG defendants supposedly should have known that the payments made to Love Records under the licensing agreement were allegedly misused by Combs for his sex trafficking activity. Although money is fungible, Combs, who Forbes reported was a billionaire in 2022, supposedly did not use any of his own money. So see, he got smart immediately. So y'all saying that the money that he got from Motown in order to fund the Love album was what he used for his sex trafficking. even though we know that Diddy is a billionaire, but he got to use the money from the Love Records, and he got to use the money directly from Motown in order to fund these alleged criminal activities. These newly minted allegations were entirely invented by Mr. Blackman. He said you made it up, sir. Brother counsel, he said you made it up. And they are false as the theories of the FAC. The court can readily determine just from the argument section below that the FAC should be dismissed pursuant to Rule 12b-6 because plaintiff has not stated and cannot state a claim against the UMG defendants, but the FAC, an unauthorized SAC. So he filed a second amended complaint, and there's arguments now on the where it looks like in the docket, because you cannot file these amendments without getting the second amended complaint. Shouldn't have been filed without getting permission from the court, but apparently there was a second amended complaint as well. So he's trying to fix it. I don't know. Are so filled with knowingly false allegations, publicly smearing the UMG defendants, that this memorandum of law will document, as the accompanying declarations do, the offensive falsity of the allegations of the FAC. The FAC's flaws are not cured by the unauthorized SAC. Second amended complaint. If anything, the unauthorized SAC, that means the second amended complaint he didn't get permission to file in the first place, conclusively demonstrates how indifferent plaintiff and his counsel are to the requirements of Rule 11. He said basically they don't even know what they're doing. The foundation of the claims against the UMG defendants and the FAC is a throwaway line in paragraph 9 alleging Motown is the parent company of Love Records. Based on this assertion, the first amended complaint alleges that UMG defendants had a duty to supervise and control Combs and failed to perform that duty. Motown was never Love Records' parent company. Their sole relationship was pursuant to a license agreement entered into in May of 2022, granting Motown the right to distribute a single Love Records album featuring Combs' performance. The licensing agreement was terminated as of February 1st of 2023. The license agreement is a commonplace commercial contract. It is not a, quote, general partnership. Motown is not Love Records' parent company, quote. Every claim based on the alleged failure to perform a non-existent supervisory control over Combs is baseless. Linked to the false, quote, parent company allegation, the FAC alleges that Grange and Ethiopia H, who has been dismissed from the case, supposedly attended, quote, listening parties at Combs' house in LA, Miami, and New York, at which underage girls and sex workers were plied with drugs and alcohol. And then in parens, and at which plaintiff claims he was sexually abused. And he put that in parens. Again, based on a non-existent respondent, and then they put sick. Remember, he kept on. He keeps talking about how they keep misspelling respondent superior relationship. The FAC falsely claims that Grange and Ms. H should have, but did not stop Combs' alleged misconduct. But Grange has never been in any of Combs' homes, and H was in his Los Angeles home only 4 times. She was never in his Miami or New York homes, all of which were for business before plaintiff started working with Combs in September 2022. So plaintiff never saw Grange or H at any of Combs' homes. And H never saw any sex workers or underage girls or drugs at Combs' home. Grange and H had no knowledge nor any way of knowing of any such alleged activity and no duty to control Combs. Having been put on notice of the falsity of these assertions, all these allegations are jettisoned in the unauthorized SAC. The fact also alleges that UMG defendants supposedly supplied Combs with, quote, cash he allegedly used for sex trafficking activity. Another false allegation jettisoned in the unauthorized SAC. And it asserts the UMG defendants supposedly should have known about Combs' alleged sex trafficking activity because of the claim asserted by Cassie Ventura and person named Jonathan Odie. These assertions are not only false and legally baseless, they are chronologically false. The First Amendment complaint is based entirely on naked conclusions. Not a single fact is pleaded showing that any, quote, cash was ever provided to Combs or Love Records. Motown paid or reimbursed Love Records for its invoice recording costs pursuant to the licensing agreement as part of an advance against Love Records' share of album revenues. It did not provide cash. Second, Cassie Ventura's complaint was filed November 16th of 2023, months after Motown's license agreement with Love Records was terminated. Odie's claims were not publicly reported until December 2023. As a chronological matter or chronological fact, neither provided any notice to the UMG defendants. Yet the FAC makes offensively false criminal accusations against the UMG defendants indifferent to these facts or the impact the accusations would have on them. Plaintiff and his counsel lacked any good faith basis for asserting a Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization Act and Trafficking Victim Protection Act claims against the UMG defendants. As will be shown below, the RICO claims are wholly conclusory and fail for numerous reasons, including lack of particularity, lack of any viability pleaded predicate acts, lack of viable pleaded enterprise, lack of alleged direction and operation of the management of any assumed enterprise by the UMG defendants, and lack of causation. Plaintiff's TVPA claims against the UMG defendants are scurrilous, lacking a single pleaded fact as distinguished from unsupported conclusions in group pleadings. They fail for numerous reasons, including there is no private cause of action for aiding and abetting violations of the TVPA. There is no underlying allegations from which anyone could plausibly infer that the UMG defendants knew or could have known of and facilitated the alleged sexual misconduct of others described in the FAC. And 3, there are no facts pleaded showing that the UMG defendants financially benefited because of the alleged sexual misconduct described in the FAC, and the now jettisoned cash allegations are completely false. Plaintiff's claim against UMG Recordings and Motown for negligent security of a California premises also fails because the claim is predicated on the false parent company allegation. Oh, Lord. The UMG defendants never provided security at Chalice Recording Studio, had no duty to provide security, and did not fail to perform a duty they did not have. So he's alleging when that whole shooting happened, wasn't that the Chalice security thing where the shooting happened and they were saying that the lady that got shot and all of that stuff, and they covered it up, and because that started going around on TikTok too, that shooting. So apparently they must have accused UMG somehow and tried to connect them in with this. Yoki Tate said, all I can say is Ethiopia was only a figurehead for UMG or emotes. Well, she out of here. So apparently the way that they worded it, they were talking about trying to place her in places where she wasn't even working there anymore. But when I first read that complaint, I found some inaccuracies in it. And that's just based on a little bit of familiarity. I ain't saying like I know these people like that. But there were some things I was like, that don't sound right. Then when people started kind of coming out saying certain things, but that doesn't take away from we've heard about Diddy's parties for decades, allegedly. I ain't never been there. I've never laid eyes on it. I don't know. But it's been definitely rumored for decades. And that is one of the spots that if you have clients in if you do entertainment, they have been advised that if you get invited to a Diddy party, you might not want to go. I mean, and it's all alleged. I ain't never been there, but I know half of you guys have heard of what allegedly happens at these parties. So this is no new information. I guess I'm not understanding how they're looping all these other people in, because when you look at now on Twitter, I saw somebody was starting an investigation on Lucius, and they're trying to tie him into stuff. And he's connected to like Taylor Swift. So now I saw like pictures showing them two together and people scrutinizing how it looks. So yeah, if this stuff is false and you put this out here, they may try to sue you because it's starting to turn into a wildfire now. because we're not going to know what, if anything, is going to happen with this federal stuff. Probably they took how many devices and cameras, and y'all think in 24 hours they're about to tell y'all he about to get locked up? That's not how this works. They have to investigate. That's what the search is for. And then when people were sitting up there talking about showing, I think Diddy's people did a statement and they were like, they tore the house up and they showed the videos of the inside of the house, which TMZ had. And I'm like, what do you guys think they do? They send Molly maids to come and clean up when they get done raiding your house? It's like, I've seen worse. So they come and whatever they're looking for, they pull cords out walls, they take whatever devices they want, and that's that. They don't say, we'll be back to clean up. We're going to send a cleaning company to come help you straighten up all the stuff we ripped out the wall. It don't work like that. Yes, please get those likes up, guys. Diddy wants people to feel sorry for him. Well, that ain't gonna work because that ain't it. I think if they pull all these people, because I've seen all the strays that were in the complaint, and I'm like, why these people you're not even suing? So why would you throw in, like, now in this one? Let's take a little brief break from the dismissal. You got Young Miami all up and through here. We heard about her cousin. Allegedly, this guy is alleging that the cousin came in and forcibly essayed him and he didn't want it. He told her no and he gave it to her, anyway. She gave it to him anyway. But now you looking at, like, with Young Miami, they're like saying she is a worker. They were talking about 50 Cent. And 50 Cent out here trolling everybody. So everybody's getting all upset or whatever at 50 Cent. Because, he's like the ultimate king of the trolls. But his baby mama, I guess, was alleged in here. And it was like, these people aren't even on the complaint. Why would you? See, one thing Cassie did for the most part, she kept it to her. Now, she did bring up Roger Bond as a person that saw it. She mentioned she had some friends that were around, and one of the friends at least came forward and said, yeah, I'm that friend. But for the most part, she kept it to her experience. She said somebody's car got blown up, and I think Kid Cudi came out and said, that was me. That was me. But so she mentioned, but like this, it was just everybody was catching strays. You get a stray, it was pictures. Look. But yeah, with the Young Miami, what page was that? This thing is so long. But look at these long paragraphs. That's what they're talking about. When you do paragraphs and complaints, they're supposed to be clear and concise. So it was literally a book in order to almost vomit everything you knew, I guess, why he was there, or he's alleging to know, because some of the stuff, I guess, is not adding up. The dates aren't adding up according to the attorney. Look at these pictures. These people, they like Brent. This is the Brendan guy. So one of the guy, I guess, that's supposed to be the supplier, he got arrested. That was a couple of days ago. He ended up being arrested. But yeah, nobody is safe. Nobody was safe up in here. If you was around Puff in any form of fashion and a picture was taken, or you were around or whatever, look, pictures, just random pictures of the pink powder. But this is the picture right here where this was the first picture that came out after the Cassie lawsuit. They put that in here. And then they got him next to Giselle and Weinstein, like that's what she is to him. Like, why is that comparison even got to be in there like that? That's why I'm saying it was definitely drafted for purposes of what we're doing now, is talking about it. It was drafted for purposes of the media. Look. Sean Combs, Jennifer Lopez arrested after the New York shooting. J Lo done got thrown up in here. Gene Deal, you know, he's the guard that's been the bodyguard or security that's been talking for a minute about all the things he saw. That's why when people have videos talking about he broke his silence, I'm like, when was he silent? He broke his silence. This right here is supposed to be the picture of Cuba Gooding Jr. saying Cuba Gooding Jr. forcibly touching Mr. Jones on Mr. Combs' yacht. He's smiling. So apparently there's a video. So I guess maybe if we see the video, he's like, no, don't touch me. I don't know. But that's the video. That's the picture for that. This was him moments before he was assaulted. Cuba Gooding is a little special. He's had a couple of lawsuits. These are supposed to be a couple of the alleged workers. This is supposed to be where they get the workers from. This is supposed to be a picture of he woke up one day and there were workers next to him after he was drugged. This is what Mr. Jones is alleging. They were next to him after he was drugged. These are supposed to be some more workers. This is Young Miami and her cousin. So this is the cousin that I guess forcibly did what he's alleging was done to him. But yeah, page was that week. This thing is so long. Page. So this is where they talk about Young Miami. They say, upon information and belief, Miss Greenhill ensured the wiring funds transfer or cash payments to sex workers were completed. Defendant Christina Coram, that's the one that was in that picture that we saw after the lawsuit was filed and they found Diddy chilling. Through her direct reports, Frankie Santella, Moy Bond, and Brendan Paul would negotiate the fees the sex workers receive and would ensure that the workers are paid in one of the manners detailed below. According to plaintiff Jones, so this is what he's saying, defendant Sean Combs bragged about having several women on a monthly stipend. According to plaintiff Jones, the women who received these payments are Carisha Romika Brownlee, aka Young Miami, Jade Ramey, aka Jade, and Daphne Joy Cervantes Narvaez, aka Daphne Joy, who were paid a monthly fee to work as Mr. Combs' sex workers. And because of this, it's being reported that I guess 50 Cent now is trying to get custody of his kid. That's alleged. That was something that was in a magazine. I haven't seen it. But yeah. So that's what they were saying about her. So yeah, everybody was just catching it. He don't have anything against her. I don't know if they plan on filing something somehow against Young Miami, but and then in the footnote, they have in footnote 38, Brendan and Christina Karam brought drugs. Plaintiff and the Combs RICO enterprise were rehearsing for something in the Water Festival in Virginia. Plaintiff Jones personally witnessed Mr. Combs do a few lines of coke in his dressing room. Defendant Sean Combs wanted Tucci, but Brendan forgot it. So defendant Christina Karam called Young Miami, who then brought it on the private jet from Miami. So they saying she was a worker, and they're alleging that she was a sex worker. Thank you. Welcome, Deacon Fatal. Welcome. Oh, he posted on his IG that he was seeking full custody. Well, all righty. There we have it, Sonia's ponytail. Thank you. But yeah, so that's that. Oh, everybody's saying it was confirmed. Yeah. Well, not convicted. He has to be indicted first, so it may not come down. A long summer, Lois. A long summer. Hey, thank you, Andre, for giving us some love while you out here being mommy. Jalecia said, what's even crazier is the number of likes compared to viewers. Please hit that like button to thank Pam for bringing us all the legal news. Please. Because you guys not here. I mean, you might hear it after I done posted and said that I was about to talk about it, but everybody is focusing on, like I said, I'm like, everybody's pulling things from the complaint, but they're not looking at the responses, because I think the focus is let's find things that are negative towards Diddy, or let's find this. But there are other people that are on this pleading that are catching it. And so they are alleging that there were lies in this complaint. And that's why they have filed a motion to dismiss. We'll see what else they had to say. We're not going to be here long, because I know at 8 o'clock I'm going to be watching them phone calls from prison too. And then we might end up doing something else after that, depending on what's said in the phone calls. But yeah. So they're being the allegations, they're saying that what they're accusing these UMG defendants of in the First Amendment complaint, the first cause of action is a violation of the RICO Act. The 8th cause of action in it was California premises liability. The 9th cause of action was aiding and abetting. 14th cause of action was for benefiting from violation of the TVPA. 15th cause of action for obstructing enforcement of the TVPA. So these are what the UMG defendants are being accused of. 5 different counts out of that long complaint. Plaintiff claims. So then they put facts alleged in the complaint and put the facts in quote to let you guys know that that's just what they're calling them, but that ain't what it is. Plaintiff claims he periodically lived with Combs during that time in various residences in California, New York, and Florida while working on a Combs album. He supposedly, quote, witnessed, experienced, and endured, end quote, an alleged shooting at Chalice in Los Angeles, California, the shooting, and various acts of sexual pressure and sex trafficking at Combs' residence. Whatever the, quote, truth of plaintiff's allegations against Combs and his associates, the allegations against the UMG defendants are fabricated. And then they got the declarations of various people. Marked up Braithwaite, dated March 25th, did an affidavit. Ethiopia did an affidavit. They have affidavits that the page amount, because I downloaded it, is 200 and something pages. Between the affidavits and I guess the contracts that they attach to it. So all of them have done affidavits. The conclusions pleaded veer between Grange and H being Combs' victims to being unwittingly used as bait, and to then either supposedly enabling or failing to control Combs' alleged conduct. Plaintiff's allegations placed Grange's and Haberman's in Combs' home they were never in, witnessing alleged events they never saw, and imposing duties on the UMG defendants that they did not have. Every conclusory allegation is in fact false, and the ready abandonment of the allegations and an unauthorized SAC only confirms their falsity. So some of these allegations, when he did the second amended complaint, they must have took them out. There are no New York personal jurisdiction allegation. The FAC admits that Grange and Haberman reside in California. So they're saying it's you don't even got jurisdiction. Then they talk about RICO and the TVPA allegations. Plaintiff alleges that a supposed 20-year-long RICO enterprise somehow caused him to witness and participate in various acts of sexual misconduct at Combs' residence in Florida and California. Plaintiff alleges that the quote enterprise was instrumentally directed and operated by co-defendants Combs and his chief of staff, Christina Coram, with assistance from 5 other individuals, none of whom are the UMG defendants: Stevie J, Justin Combs, Brendan Paul, Frankie Santilla, and Moy Bond. Plaintiff alleges in pure conclusory terms that these people, quote, ordered sex workers and prostitutes, quote, ordered and distributed a number of narcotics, procured date rape drugs that were used against female attendees, and acquired and distributed guns and drugs. Nowhere does the FAC allege that any of the UMG defendants did anything to direct or operate the alleged enterprise. First, plaintiff alleges in verbatim terms that he recalls seeing Grange and H visiting Combs' home in Florida and California at unspecified dates during evening hours, and they would both disappear for hours in Mr. Combs' bedroom. And then they cite the paragraphs, they said it in the complaint. The allegations are complete fabrications. And the second amended complaint basically threw them out and took that out of the complaint. Plaintiff never saw Grange at any of Combs' homes because he was never there. And then that's what Grange said in his declaration. And he never saw H because her visits were only to Combs' home in LA, and all preceded plaintiff starting to work for Combs. So she only visited him. He wasn't even working. Mr. Jones wasn't even working for Combs at the time. She did go to his home. Plaintiff's allegation that Grange and H attended several Love album listening parties at Mr. Combs' home in Los Angeles, California, where sex workers and underage girls were allegedly present, are thus completely false. Compounding the falsity, the UMG defendants did not financially sponsor listening parties. These allegations are fabrications, allowing court on its own accord to strike from a pleading any redundant immaterial. So they want them to strike this stuff. Predicated on the baseless parent company allegation and the utterly false assertion that Grange and H attended Combs' listening parties, both abandoned in the unauthorized SAC. So apparently there's a second amended complaint, and he abandoned some of this stuff already. Plaintiffs conclusorily alleges that they knew or should have known that Combs was drugging the attendees through laced bottles of alcohol, and that Grange and H had a duty and obligation to ensure that the sex workers and underage girls were not present, and that Mr. Combs was not spiking the alcohol with date rape drugs. Motown was not Love Records' parent company, and Grange and H were never at any listening parties. They had no knowledge of any such alleged activity and no duty or ability to prevent it. But even if one ignored the actual facts, as plaintiff and his counsel do, as shown below, the First Amendment complaint still provides no basis to plausibly infer that Grange and H directed and operated the management of a RICO enterprise and caused RICO damages, nor do they create any liability under TVPA. I am really curious why they got UMG up in this piece. Let me see, because he's going to keep repeating probably all the stuff that ain't. Okay. Then he goes over all of the different claims and he adds the facts to the claim. So that is the gist. He basically is saying that this case should be dismissed because these facts are not, they're not based, these alleged facts really aren't grounded with any evidence. And that, this case should be dismissed. Let me see. One more thing. He did a declaration. The attorney did a declaration again. So we know he was probably heated in this declaration. Let me see what y'all think about this first. It's in the affidavit. No, there were several, not several, maybe 3 or 4 affidavits. And then there were, I think contracts were attached to. So it ended up being about 230 additional pages on top of it because of that. He said, what was he Lynn, I don't know. What, because Because he's a grown man. And that's not, I don't want to be that person. Like things can't happen to men like it happens to women. But I guess I'm just, it's not clicking for me. Because why not just walk away? Because my understanding is a lot of this stuff was because he didn't get paid for the album and he was requesting to get the money back and he wanted a certain amount and Diddy said he not gonna give it to him. So as a result, he's suing them because he wants his money back. But then he's saying about all of this stuff that happened. Now you're asking for millions of dollars because you're saying you were sexually assaulted, you were subjected to sex workers, you watch people lace these drinks, woke up with sex workers next to you. Cuba Gooding Jr. was trying to touch on you. You didn't seen tapes and stuff of Stevie J. I mean, but it all stemmed from the fact that you didn't get paid, is what I got from it. Very interesting. No, there are a few lawsuits against him. He has another one. Sean Combs has a lawsuit that is currently, he has a state court lawsuit and it is one of them is a Jane Doe. He has another federal, I think. He has a couple of lawsuits. When this whole statute allowed people to come back and to file for essays back in the day and had a year window, people filed. Thank you, Deacon Fatal, for the $5. You said, okay, question. In your opinion, how much is TMZ hurting or helping the case? Well, TMZ is doing what TMZ does. So I'm not they're just they have insiders, obviously, who gets pictures of things. How do you get a video inside Diddy's home unless somebody gave it to you from the inside? But and now you're gonna have a whole bunch of people come out. They're gonna give their experiences, their theories. You have, like, you see 50 Cent going at it because his baby mama was implicated. Stevie J is saying, I know it's all for entertainment, but he really pissed off because now he want to fight 50 Cent. I mean, I was watching that little video that he did, and I'm like, this is just out of hand. But if you look at it, if there was a media reasoning for this, which is what this attorney is alleging, that you did this all for media, all to try to get some publicity, is what they're alleged. That doesn't mean that everything in the complaint is just totally false. But as you see from the scathing letter and from the motion to dismiss, he's alleging that a lot of this is not true as it pertains to his clients. And he gives the courts the reason why it's not true. So let me see. Cause yeah, Stevie J was pissed off earlier, talking about he about to fight people. But I mean, it's good content, I guess. It's gonna always take me a minute to get into the whole that people just report on stuff and you have to know what it means, don't know what the court documents mean. It really did bother me a lot because I'm like, you know, I guess sometimes when it's a slow day and you're like, well, I'm gonna take this document, like that whole situation with saying that Ethiopia was gonna testify. Oh, that came up. Sorry. The whole Ethiopia situation, of which they were saying she gonna testify against him. I'm like, the civil don't have anything to do with the criminal, but everybody's morphing it together because they're looking for content. Everybody want to know what happened next, and then they want to be first. Not all parties like white parties. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Shelby said, thanks for bringing us the documents, Pam. Thank you for supporting. I appreciate it. I only came because you guys kept asking about it because, I want to sit back and see what happens. But when I saw this, I was like, it's interesting because nobody really talks about the other people in the complaint, that there are other people that are affected by this. Thank you, Morton, so much for the super sticker. I appreciate you. I appreciate the love and the support. But this is like Stevie J. I was just looking at that. I'm like, this is just getting. This is getting worse and worse. Let me see.
Curtis, what's good, man? You and your feelings about Daphne? Is she would gang them? Or is it that you sucking little Rod dick? However it go, I want you to fade, nigga. Fuck all that. Since it's entertainment, let me beat the shit out of you on TV or something. Don't duck that. I'm calling you out. What you want to do, Curtis? Curtis!
TMJ2467 said, my husband is in the entertainment industry, and you'd be surprised how folks behave and what they are willing to go along with just to be in the company of a star. I am actually not surprised because so I've done entertainment. I still represent a few I guess celebrities, you can say. And when they're younger, there are literally things that you kind of tell them just for the industry that maybe people didn't know back in the day. So when I've heard certain experiences or people saying this happened, I'll tell them, "Oh, you're trying to go to such and such part." There's a couple of actors and stuff that is some allegations about how their parties are. And I tell my clients, like, nope, if they call me and they're like, yeah, they told me they got tickets to the BET Awards, I'm like, no, you're not, don't take anything from them. There are certain people, that's what it was. Now, this is a different day and age because you had so many gatekeepers back then, where in order to be in the music industry, you had to be with these big record labels in order to make it. But now you got so many ways to be an independent artist that you don't have to rely on them like that. So I think people feel more empowered that they don't have to sell themselves to be in the industry. But there are people that will quid pro quo in order to get what they want. You get some people that will walk away from it because they're not going to compromise their morals or their standards to be in the industry. But you have the opposite, people that's willing to do whatever to get in the industry. And I think a lot of people, there's probably some regret to that. And there's obviously powerful people that took advantage of people because they were in that powerful spot. Now, what would be very interesting is to see how many people in those powerful spots it happened to them. And they got it, they learned about it through personal experience, you know? So then you're doing it to other people now that you when you got into that position. But I just think that, and that's with anything. And I said that in the beginning of the live. I think with anything, you have to be careful. Like I said, I'm not saying whether TD Jakes did or didn't do anything. I'm not saying none of that. What I'm saying is the way it was in the headlines wasn't anything. And so, what if everyone repeatedly puts things out there that can be debunked? And then it basically overshadows real things that may really be happening because we're like, oh, that might not be true, just like the other stuff is true. Is not true. So I think we should just be careful and be cognizant, especially, I mean, in theory, we're just bloggers or YouTubers, but just be careful how you put things out and how you present things. And you should do both sides. This is a whole nother side going over this document. This is a whole nother side. These are other people who are thrown in here who their attorney is saying you're defaming my clients because this stuff is not true. And we gave you the opportunity to take our clients up out of here and you're not. So now we're about to see what we can do, not just for you, but for your client as well, because we feel like all this stuff was fabricated. Now, what the other attorney, what Jones attorney said was in one of the letters that I read, he did make it like he took things out because perhaps maybe Rodney Jones may have been introduced like these were the people, but they really weren't them or something. It was some rationale as to maybe it was a mistaken identity type of a deal, and it really wasn't them, but that's not his client's fault because that's what he was told or something like that. So that may be a reason why he kind of cleaned some of the stuff up. That's what he was saying. So now they're going back and forth on whether he should even be allowed to do a second amended complaint because he filed it. So now Jones has petitioned the court for a motion to file a second amended complaint. So this would be his third complaint that he's gonna file. I'm not sure, Sandy. I have to look. Thank you so much for the super chat, though. If you sent it, I have to look and see. Elite Leo say, yep, and Lil Rod is having regrets. It might have been, listen, it might have been people out here that's waiting on, they so been mad at Diddy for years, and they like, oh, this is our time to shine. We about to throw everything in here that we know. Because when you look at it, a lot of the facts in the complaint just don't really, it's not relevant to what Lil Rod is trying to do. But a lot of people they were getting stray bullets. So Lois said, my son told me I'd be shocked at what some folks in the entertainment world requested of people to do with minors. I told him I'm not shocked. It's the truth. It's sad, but it's true. Look at the Nickelodeon thing. Have you guys watched that? That was just, it's made me sick to my stomach. Isn't that the same person that couldn't handle face hands? He might want to retract that statement. Cat's eyes. Thank you so much for commenting and participating in this here chat. There are no limit of depth of debauchery that bottom feeders will go to suck up to power and fame. That's what I'm saying. And really, when you look at it, a lot of stuff is the oldest profession. I mean, what is the difference between a prostitute, which is legal in Vegas, right? Like doing it for money. Some people are willing to do things. Some people mess with older men just so they can be taken care of. Like there are some people that are willing to do stuff. We can't negate that people are willing to do certain things. And a lot of these people probably did participate in certain things, but you know, I'm just reading the documents. We're gonna follow it as it goes. Thank you, Tyra, for the cash app, and Natty and Sharice. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because you know, I appreciate you. Let me see. It's apparent that Diddy told him all kinds of things that he just believed and ran with. Diddy was saying anything. That may be it too. How much of it was true? It was hearsay, and then you put it in a complaint. Can you imagine that happening to you? Like you just so happened to walk up in Diddy's, and then even with Jake's, I don't know if he was in some parties or not on a regular basis. We just know he was at that birthday party. I don't know if he just regularly was there like they're alleging. I don't know any of that when it comes to him. But just imagine Diddy's like, Past Bishop, I want you to do the prayer for my party. I want to pray over the food or something. All right, since you're in town, and he stopped by, and then all of a sudden you in this complaint, and they telling you a part of the freak off. Like that's kind of jacked up. And I'm not saying yeah or nay. I don't know if he did, and I get it. There are people that feel like they were wrong by Jakes. I am not a Jakes fan. I like Jakes back in the day when they had cassettes and he had the little he had hair. He had the little raggedy suits, you know, that he got from the secondhand store. And that's the Jakes that I remember when I was a kid. That's the Jakes I like. When he started getting celebrity and started being more of a motivational speaker, that's kind of when so it's not, and that's another thing. You guys can't just assume because people are looking on both sides or make a comment that, oh, you got to be pro Jakes. You just believe everything. He done stole babies. He done did this. He done this. Like, calm down. Like, calm down. First of all, he ain't been convicted of not a nan thing. That's the first thing. Secondly, is no civil liability out here for him. So everything is what people are telling you that happened. And all I was doing was saying a point of how the media put that in the title and had me thinking like, oh, they going in on Jakes in here. Then I started getting texts like, I heard Jakes was in the pleading, and they wanted me to look it up. And I'm looking, I like put it in the search, put Jakes. And when I seen that one line, I'm like, y'all gotta be kidding me. That it has to be more than this. That's all I kept saying. I'm like, it has to be more. But I mean, that's not negating, you know. Deacon Fader said, off topic, how many of your clients are taking a music business calls at the least before joining entertainment? Calls? Or are you saying class? I'm assuming you mean class. The way I did it is I make my clients, when I did it more, you have to be involved in yours. Because I'm not going to always be there. My clients know how to read contracts. They know what not to agree to. There are certain provisions you can tell them that you just don't agree to. It depends on you know the consequences if you're a writer and you give up your writing. Like there's certain consequences to stuff. So they go into it. If they sign it, and it's a bad deal, it's because you couldn't wait and you weren't patient and you wanted to take the bad deal. It ain't because you didn't know. Elise said, I couldn't watch the Nickelodeon thing because I watched a yell of two Corey some years ago and they was crazy. It's about what him and Corey Feldman went through within. Oh, wow. So it's a lot of, wow. I live in Vegas. It's not legal here, only in Pahrump. So in Nevada, I did say Vegas. So in Nevada, this is the year of transformation, truth coming out, and we are starting it off with a bang in some cases, literally. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, don't ruin cases because you take it. Because I start turning a blind after a while when so much comes out and it can be debunked. It's like, so what is really true and what's not? And I think a lot of celebrities and just people in general have gotten away with things for that same reason. Because if this turns out to be false, then why won't I believe that this is false? So we just have to be cognizant. I just try to let you guys think differently with an open mind. And a tale of two Corys. Yeah. It's Ethiopia. I'm just going back and forth, Dr. Truth. I'm sorry. I'm just messing the lady's name up. That's why I was calling her Miss H. It's no disrespect. I just, we forget. So here was the declaration of Donald Zakarian. He's the guy that is representing the UMG defendants. And he says, I have personal knowledge of the facts set forth in the declaration. And if called and sworn as a witness, I could and will competently testify thereto. So as you guys see, this is something that is said in all declarations, that if you are called to testify, you can testify to these facts because you have personal knowledge. So he starts out with talking about how the First Amendment complaint was an improper filing. Then he goes on and says, in any event, having reviewed the Second Amendment complaint, it is, if anything, even more offensively false than the First Amendment complaint. And this time, Mr. Blackburn, which is the attorney for Jones, cannot attribute the falsity to his client. So he's saying you can't even blame your client for these false statements without the slightest factual basis. Indeed, contrary to the Declaration of Ethiopia, on which he purports to base the Second Amendment complaint's newly invented allegations, Mr. Blackburn has completely jettisoned every single one of the original foundational and utterly false allegations of the First Amendment complaint, on which of the claims against the UMG defendants were based, and has fabricated, all but by himself, entirely different foundational allegations for the claims against the UMG defendants. First, and then he just goes on. He goes in. So y'all know where it's going. Y'all know where it's going from here. So we will continue to follow this case, and we'll see what the response is for this motion to dismiss, and we'll see if the court dismisses. I wonder how the media is going to be if the court dismisses those different defendants out of that case, if it will change any of it to kind of side-eye some of the other facts. But anyway, y'all go ahead and hit that like button. I'm about to get up out of here. You guys go over there if you guys are into the Ernest Williams. There's a phone call from prison that is going now. Perhaps we may be back or in the membership probably if I do come back to talk about the phone call. Thank you guys so much for your attentiveness and your support. As always, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. I am going to holler at you guys next time.